Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing fine. Interesting season. What's happening is that right now the job market is hot and cold at the same time. Hot because this is the appraisal time, so a lot of companies will see a lot of attrition based on how they are appraising, as well as the people once they are not happy with the appraisal, they tend to move. But we are also at a crossroad where companies are evaluating how they want to hire people, like whether they want to increase their hiring, not increase their hiring, what should be done. So it's a mixed bag right now. A lot of evaluation, a lot of costing evaluation is being done right now. Interesting times. Now, today we're gonna cover a kind of group of topics. Like, as we know that when we go through this journey of finding an appropriate job, there are times when we see rejections. Now, the rejections can be at four fronts, and we'll discuss those four fronts as well. And how can we tackle that? Basically, if there is rejection at every stage, how can we tackle and ensure that we are not the ones who are getting rejected, or at least have the understanding of why there is a rejection? And rejection is a part of the process, so we should never be bothered. We should always move on. We should always be confident to proceed. So, having said that, let's go ahead and proceed. Let's start with our journey today. What I'm going to discuss, four sections. First is the four stages of rejection. Then, resume. What are the things that can get our resume rejected? Then, what recruiters see, how they see the resumes for shortlisting. Then, I'll cover the interview process as well as to how we can ensure that we are not getting rejected, or what should we do to ensure that we are getting selected for the role. Okay, cool. So let's right jump in because there's a lot to cover today. I'm gonna start with the first section, which is four stages of rejection. And this is more of a grid which I'm gonna share with you all. Let me just make it a little bigger so that everybody can see that, right? I hope this is visible to you all. So, four stages of rejection. What are those four stages of rejection? So, generally, what is being observed these days is big companies, they are using software. They're getting a lot of resumes even for a role. If you go to Naukri, if you go to LinkedIn, if you even approach companies, right, you will see hundreds and hundreds of applications for a single role. As soon as there is a posting on LinkedIn, you will see there are 300, 500 people applying for that, right? If you're following certain companies for certain jobs, you will observe that. So how is the company managing that? They are not going to read those hundreds and thousands of resumes that are being pouring in, right? So what they generally do is they use ATS. What is ATS? ATS is a applicant tracking system. It's a software. It is an application that actually screens and filters the resume. So it will reject all the unwanted ones and filter out the appropriate right ones. Now, this is what we are going to cover today. Second is the second stage of rejection is when the suppose your software the company is using has shortlisted your resume. But the next stage is the actual recruiter or the hiring manager will go through the resume itself. This is also a stage where a lot of resumes get rejected. So, from a data standpoint, the ATS rejects 70 to 80% of the resumes. And similar is the scenario with the second level of screening with the recruiter or the hiring manager. They also reject a lot of resumes. What is left? They will call those people for the interview, assessment and interview, which is the third stage. And we can get rejected in the third stage as well, right? Fourth stage is salary negotiations. Okay, so this is the first section, which is four stages of rejection. Now we need to ensure that we are not getting caught up by any of the rejection stages. So first is resume. Basically, first of all, understand that why the resume is getting rejected, right? If at all it is getting rejected, what are the reasons? Lack of qualifications or overqualification, right? Lack of qualification is a basic criteria. Suppose they are asking for an MBA degree with a certification. And if you don't have an MBA degree or a certification, you will not be selected for that role. Suppose they are asking for a BTech and you are a bachelor's degree in commerce. So probably you are not the one who's right fit for that role, right? So if you don't qualify, the basic qualifications are not met, that is a clear rejection. And that is something that you need to ensure that you have those basic qualifications which are required for the role. Suppose they are asking for 10 years of experience, you have two, or you have 10 years of experience, they are asking for two, which is an overqualification, right? In those cases, also, your resume will not be selected because they don't need a person with 10 years of experience. So keep that in mind. Second is ATS applicant tracking system. As I said, this is a software, this is an application which actually uses keywords, right? So what it does is it actually matches the job description with your resume. And suppose there are keywords that match, like suppose, as I mentioned about a BTech role, as well as they want some project management certification, or they want some other qualification or skill set. Suppose you are being hired for a technical role where they need development skills or software development skills. If your resume has those skills and it matches the requirements of the job description, and ATS sees that, the software sees that, it will select that. If it is not there, it will reject that, right? So it's a match of keywords that they do. And generally, ATS softwares also give you a score, how close the matches. Okay. I'll share some names as well with you all. The third thing is the format of the resume. Like sometimes people use weird formats, right? And we need to be very, very clear of what kind of format we are using. A simple format is always recommended. A clear, simple format, straightforward, which actually is giving right information that you want to present or advertise about yourself. Because resume is a summary, and how you capture that summary is very important. I see, these days it's AI time, and you can use hundreds of applications which are available to build resumes, right? And there are a lot of jazzy ones as well. The challenge with the jazzy ones is that when anybody, like sometimes even they are not ATS friendly, sometimes the recruiter is not able to capture the right information. Suppose I am the recruiter and I am going through a lot of resumes. There is a complicated or a very designer type of resume might catch my attention, but if it is not giving me the right information I want to pick in a short span of time, your resume will be rejected. The time span, we'll cover that. The recruiter spends just, and this is industry standard, the recruiter spends 6 to 9 seconds on a short listing of a resume. When they're going through screening of a resume, a human being, a recruiter, they spend 6 to 9 seconds. So we need to be very mindful of how we capture the attention of the recruiter, and simple format is one of those. Now, basically, you can also mention within this is more of a contradiction. If I have a very unique resume, a very different one, probably it will catch the attention of the recruiter. Absolutely, yes. At times, this can work, but it is a risk as well. The other part is that it also depends on the role you are applying for. Suppose you're applying for a very creative kind of a role. Suppose you want to apply, you are a designer and you want to present or showcase your skills even with the resume, you can do that. But suppose you are for applying for a role of an accountant or something, right? A pretty standard of your achievements would be more relevant as compared to a very jazzy and catchy resume. Irrelevant information. Uh, Sometimes we actually tend to ignore this aspect of irrelevant information. What is irrelevant information? Suppose you're mentioning about you were a captain of a school team in your, say, 8th or 10th grade. Doesn't really matter unless you are a professional cricketer, or you have done really well uh, when you grew up as well, right? So nobody cares about that, right? So relevant information, irrelevant should not be there. Sometimes the employment gaps in age. Unfortunately, this is the truth that sometimes they see there are a lot of gaps in employments. There's an age factor as well, right? Which can impact the decision of the recruiter based on the information. So we need to be a little crafty there. Although there is not much to be done, You don't have to over stress or over explain your gaps and all, right? Just put it as a fact and list that. There are times when we also use a cover letter. Cover letter is a great tool which accompanies a resume, where you can explain these things, like there is a age factor, there is a gap in your resume, or something that you want to explain as well. Suppose you're changing your domain, right? You are from a technical domain, you want to go for a different kind of a domain, or you're from a, say, suppose HR, to you want to move to IT. Now, it's very difficult to explain that in a resume, but a cover letter is more contextual. It has summary, it has some text which you can help explain about yourself. You can always use that as a tool along with your resume, but resume is all bulleted points. Cool. Then mistakes, grammar, like if they're grammatical mistake, it's always and always a big concern for the recruiter, because that means you're less prepared. You don't review what you are entering there. You're not serious about application. So be very conscious. These days we have tools like Grammarly, and others. You can go online, just validate. Then the length of the resume. There is a lot of debate on it has to be only one pager and things like that. Well, if the information that you want to share, the keywords, the skill sets you want to share with the recruiter, it is okay to have two pages as well, right? It is okay to have more than two pages, but it has to be justified. If there is information which is not relevant and you have a five pager, nobody's going to read that. Let me tell you this. Recruiters have hundreds or thousands of resumes. Nobody's going to invest time in long resumes. So we need to have that crisp information there. Then unprofessional email, photos. Like suppose I'll give you an example. Like um, suppose you are putting in an email address which is like cool dude, or something like which is not sounding professional. And what resume does is it creates a perception whether this person is the right fit or not based on what you put in into the resume, right? Somebody is going through the resume will build a mind picture, a mind map of you by reading or going through the details you have shared. Now, having an unprofessional, suppose an email or a photo as well, sometimes people, like they are going out to a pub, it would have a very negative or a unprofessional impression on the recruiter or the hiring manager, which is uncalled for. We don't have to do that. So have to be professional. Like you should be professionally dressed if you are putting a photo. Now, I generally recommend not to put one on the resume. Don't avoid putting the photos unless this is a job for where you need to present yourself. Suppose there is a front desk kind of a job, or suppose you are a salesperson for any automobile dealership or something, somewhere you have to interact with physically with the person, right? And you need to be presentable there. We can avoid having photographs because there is no relevance of photographs in resumes. So, well, think about these. These are some basic, there are other factors as well, but then these are the big ones which you can think of and easy to fix. If you see all these pointers, these are easy to fix. So, which can help us avoid getting rejected. Now, moving on, one of the important ones is the ATS, which is Applicant Tracking System. How to clear ATS, right? So as I mentioned, that applicant tracking system, or ATS, it is a software. It is an application which matches your resume to the job description. So suppose you're applying for a role in a company, like I'll give an example. Suppose you're applying for a role in Amazon. Now, when you apply for a role in Amazon, you submit your resume and you're directly applying to the company. So I'm assuming they have an applicant tracking system or a software which screens or filters applications. So what it is going to do is, for the role you have applied for, it will compare the job description of that particular role with your resume and see if the keywords match or not. There is a keyword match. Generally, they do a keyword match of the skill sets, right? Whether the skills requirements listed in the job description that they have shared matches the resume you have shared with them. So software does that comparison. Okay. So what should we do? Basically, this is, as I mentioned, a match of the skills, the keywords with the job description. This is what the software does, right? And there are multiple softwares which are available in the market which you can use. So I'm not gonna tell you that use this or that. Yeah, I do recommend that if you can go for the best in the industry, right? There are a few I've listed here, like JobScan, SkillSyncer, ResiMatch. And let me show you that how it looks like. Basically, let me just pull one screen here to show you how these websites looks like. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen. So there are three I have mentioned. First is JobScan. So jobscan.co. So this is a percentage match it gives you when you upload your resume. So when you scroll down, you will see that it'll ask for uploading your resume. Then it'll ask for uploading the job description or pasting. Just paste the job description and you view the result. So this is how it will display match rate, how much percentage of your resume is matching the job description, right? So this is JobScan, which is doing that. Similarly, you can also have a SkillSyncer, right? SkillSyncer, very similar. It has all the other options, like you can do a keyword scanner, and the ATS one is same. It will give you similar score, match score, and it'll give you what are the skills that are matching, hard skills matching, soft skills matching, or other keyword match or not, whether it is matching or not. Similarly, the third one which I mentioned is it's actually Cultivate Culture, resimatch.io, but the website's it's cultivatedculture.com. So you can go through that same steps, upload your resume, paste the job description here. Once you start the scan, it'll give the same similar how much of a match your resume is to the job description. Very similar kind of concept for all these websites. Go back to the websites again. JobScan, SkillSyncer, and uh, resimatch.io, which is cultivatedculture.com. And you can use any of those. You can use the combination of those. Basically, see, the idea here is I showed you this percentages match, like 50% match, or here it says 89% match, or 89 score, or 87%. What you need to ensure is the important skills that are in the job description are in your resume. If they are not there, please add those. So all of these are basically free tools. The only catch is that when you sign up, they will give you, suppose, say 10 scans free, 10 or 5 or whatever, right? Suppose you're applying for one role and you start scanning. So you upload your resume, you put the job description, and you click scan. It'll give you a score like this, like it'll say, okay, suppose this is 87%. Now, generally what it does is most of the times it's not 87%, it's most of the times it will give you, suppose, a 50% score. Now, what will you do? You will again make changes to your resume, right? So that it becomes more of a match with the job description. It becomes closer to job description, and run the scan again. So this is a second scan. Suppose you get a 60%, right? Then you make more changes. And the third scan, which will bring your score to suppose 65 and all. So when you do multiple scans, they give you, say, suppose 5 to 10 scans in a month's time, right? Then they will ask you to pay. So you can use multiple websites. That's why I've given you so many websites, so that you're not stuck to one, basically, and you don't have to pay for that as well. The best and easiest way is that it allows, once you sign up, it allows you to make recommendations. So suppose you add a friend, you send it to your friend as a recommendation, that friend signs up for free. You get 10 more scans free. So you can do that as well. JobScan generally does that, where you get more scans free once you recommend a friend or something. So yeah, you can still try to get the free versions if your scans are limited. Let me just move on to the next one, which is the winner resume. First of all, it should match the job description. If your resume is not matching the job description, well, there's a higher chances of this getting rejected. And this brings me to the most important point for all of us to know. please actually customize your resume for each job that you're applying for. I know it is no fun because if I have built my super amazing resume once, I just want to send it to the world, right? But that is now not the way the world works. Every job is different, every requirement of a company is different. And based on that, you need to customize your resume. Then clearing ATS, basically, your resume should clear ATS. Don't get over obsessed by the score of 90 or 100%, that I have to have a 90% or 100% score in ATS. Not gonna help you. The more the score, the better it is for you. But that is not a golden rule for getting shortlisted or selected. The golden rule is your keywords should match. Most of the keywords or requirements should match. And if they are matching, there is a highly chance of you getting shortlisted for the interviews. Okay. Then clear recruiter. Now, this recruiter thing, which is more of, we'll talk later about it. Basically, the recruiter spends 6 to 9 seconds as an average, as I mentioned. Now, it depends on the recruiter as well. Somebody might be spending, say, 1 minute or so, depending on number of applications. Sometimes you have 10 applications to review. Sometimes you have 10,000 applications to review. So it depends on the recruiter's bandwidth, that how much bandwidth they have and how they are shortlisting resumes. It could be first come, first serve as well. So another golden rule is that as soon as you get a notification for an opportunity, that this is a job opening or a role opening there, you should not waste time and immediately apply for the role. There is a higher chance of getting shortlisted if you are the early bird. Then obviously highlight your skills. If you are covering all these aspects, your resume is basically has the right mix to get shortlisted. Now, sometimes people ask me, Nathan, I have all these mixes and still my resume is not getting shortlisted, right? So first of all, you know, your shortlisting depends on a lot of factors. One is I've mentioned about how well you are matching the scores with ATS. Uh, Second is how quickly you're applying for the role, right? Suppose there are a lot of people who have already applied. Obviously, your shortlisting would be uh, difficult if there are more people in the queue with a similar skill set that you have, right? Unique skill set, definitely a person would have a much better chance. So you need to be persistent. Sometimes you can't just predict that how many people will be applying, but your effort should always be there. Yes, there would be rejections. Yes, sometimes it will not be shortlisted. Recruiter shortlisting. We've discussed about resume. Basically, the resume has to be shortlisted, one by the ATS and then by the recruiter as well. So basically, it's the same role of the resume, but with a different angle. What is that? So recruiters, as I mentioned, that they take 6 to 9 seconds or very less time. Now, you know why they do that. So because their job is to screen applications, and they have multiple jobs as well. So they want to spend, uh, I won't say less time, but appropriate time, right? They don't want to overspend time on one application versus another. So they have a set criteria. They have a very simple set process of shortlisting. What is that? The simple set process of shortlisting is they have a checklist. Generally they have a checklist, or if it is a tenured person, they have it in their mind. What they do is, basis the checklist, which has all the keywords of the job description, they will check the resume and just put a tick, 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 tick. Yes, this matches. Yes, let me call this person for an interview. Well, if this person doesn't have those skills which I have on my list, it's a reject, right? And they have other criteria as well. Sometimes they use location, experience, notice period, multiple criteria they use. Nowadays, there are again, when, like, suppose somebody is hiring through LinkedIn, shortlisting through Naukri. So they have multiple criteria to select from. Like, suppose they will check the experience of the person, the location of the person, ability to join quickly. Even Naukri also offers the filtering of the salaries as well, because Naukri prompts you to enter the salary information. So they can filter it out basis the salary information as well. So make sure your keywords are at the right places in the resume. Then correct info on the resume. Basically, they need to see whether the resume is reflecting the right information, and they're smart people as well, right? They will see the dates, they will check. You've done, suppose you're a fresher, right? You've done your graduation in this year. Now you have not shown anything for the next 2 3 years, or you're before your final year, you have done something and showcased something as an experience. So they're smart people. We need to be very, very cautious when we are entering all the information. Even when you're an experienced person and switching jobs, every information you share on your resume should be validated by you, right? Because they're smart people and they're used to review a lot of resumes. Third point is very, very important, which is networking. And this is a make and break. So a lot of people, when they say that, Nitin, my resume is not getting shortlisted, one of the ways you can get your resume shortlisted is by having a network of recruiters. And when you connect with them directly, it is the easiest, shortest, short way of getting shortlisted, at least for the interview. Because what is the role of a resume? The role of a resume is to get shortlisted for an interview. It will not give you a job. No company is hiring basis your resume. They are calling you for an interview. So that is the job for a resume. It is it is your gateway. It is your passport for a job interview. And if the recruiter is connected to you, if you have a good network, you know this recruiter, probably in the past you have given an interview to this recruiter and you had a good connect, right? You can directly reach out that I want to apply for this role. Can you just shortlist me or review if I match this requirement? And if you can call me for an interview, absolutely. So this is the easiest, shortest, short way. Difficult approach because it needs your investment to build those relationships with the recruiters. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. Reach out to them on through websites and all, right? But try to reach out. Try to connect with them directly and network with them. Then the fourth is the file name. It is a small thing, but important to note. Suppose you're sending a resume directly to the recruiter, right? Uh, what you should always do is, in this case, I've mentioned like first name underscore last name underscore the position you're applying for. Also mention immediate joiner or you have a notice period in the file name itself of your resume, right? The resume you're sending. Why so, right? Generally, when you send a resume to a recruiter, they have a repository. A lot of resumes are there, right? When you put a position, they can easily search in their system, in their device, if they have a certain position to fill in. Project manager, they search for project manager. If your name appears there, it's easy for them to pick and shortlist. Similarly, if they are looking for, suppose somebody has an immediate joiner and your resume is there on the repository they have, they can easily see that this person has put in the notice period as well, or this person is a immediate joiner. A small thing, but it it can work a lot of times. So think about it, how you have the nomenclature of your resume when you're sharing that with the recruiter. Okay, so these are some basic points with recruiter shortlisting. See, basically, recruiters, they're always pressed on time. Generally, they don't have time, right? They can only and only work in your favor when you have you've gone the extra mile. Now, how you have gone the extra mile? Basically, either first basic step is you have mentioned all the required information in your resume, which is matching the job description, right? So basically, you are the qualifier. Second is you can reach out to them through LinkedIn or email, or if you've already connected with them by having a good relationship, these extra steps that you have taken will give you a lot of leverage. All right, so we are coming to the last section of today, which is the interview process. Now, if I'm talking about interview process, congratulations, you have already cleared the filtering process of ATS, as well as the recruiter has recommended you to call for an interview. Fair? One thing to note here is that when you're called for an interview, you are at a very equal chance as compared to any other individual. So the company thinks that you're the right fit for the role. Think about it, okay? Yeah, let me repeat what I just said. When you're called for an interview, company thinks that you are fit for that role, basically. So stop over evaluating yourself. You should feel that you are the right person for this job and go with that mindset. This is the mindset game as well, right? If you're going with that mindset that the company already thinks that I'm right fit for the role, it is just that I have to showcase that yes, I am the right fit. Your approach to the entire interview process will change. Awesome. So interview process basically, no preparations equals rejection. As simple as that. Basically, the the way to success, the way to get an appointment letter is by preparation and preparation only. Fair? What preparation? Let's cover those pointers. What kind of preparation? So preparation has 10 steps. I've covered these through 10 steps. Uh, Let me cover those one by one. Okay. First being research about the company. There is a interesting study which showcases that two-third means 66% of the people, they don't even study about the company when they're going for an interview. Imagine you're going for an interview with a company where your future career is, where you will be getting your salary drawn from. That's the expectation. And they don't know what the company is all about. They don't go through that. So, very, very important to understand what the company does, what is the core values, research about the company itself, right? Understand about the company values, their financials, how the company is growing, basically financially as well as employee growth. Check the news and updates. What are the new latest things that they are doing? Employee feedback as well, and then products and services. Very important, products and services, what the company is doing. Now, if you do that research, you by your own self would feel confident about your knowledge when you're going for the interview. Here's the interesting bit. A lot of times, people, when they go through these details and talk in the interviews, even the interviewers don't have that much information, although they are a part of the company. Harsh truth, let me tell you that most of the people might not know all the information that I have listed here. And if you prepare that, imagine the upper edge you will get when you are sitting in front of the interviewer and giving an interview. Yeah. So think about it, but do research about the company because others are not doing that. So this is one way to get ahead of other candidates. Research well about the company. Then research about the role as well. So what should we do? Understand the job description. Go through the company website, see what kind of roles they are offering, see the LinkedIn profiles for similar roles, right? Do a industry research, and of course, networking. So industry research is basically current trend, future prospects, and challenges. When you research about the role, ask the recruiter, the hiring manager, the employees, and the industry experts, what is this role? What is this job? What is it that is required? Maybe it is possible that at times you join something which you feel that you are not the right person to do that job. Happens sometimes, right? So you need to be very, very aware of the fitment part for that role as well. Suppose they mentioned about the role, but you are not fit for that, or you don't want to do that as well. So it's important for you to research about the role so that you feel confident about that in the interviews, right? Then moving on, research about the interviewer. Now you have to become Sherlock Holmes. You have to become a detective. Not a real sense, in the sense that you need to see what is the thought process of the recruiter, and also try to gain more knowledge. Right, this helps. So a lot of times when you get invites for interviews, and suppose they're online interviews, you generally get the email address or the name of the person as well, that this person is going to interview you. In-person interviews in office, generally, I mean, you might know, you might not know, but the recruiter can definitely tell you that this is the interviewer or the hiring manager for this role. Now, when you get to know about this information, it's easy to access information about that person through internet. For example, you can put the name of the person, the designation of the person, and the company of that person. Generally, you get, say, your LinkedIn profiles are easily accessible. Even other social media or some posts are available on the web. Now, if you're able to gain some information, you get to know about the person as well, the likes, dislikes, or some interests as well. Suppose somebody's talking about industry developments on LinkedIn. That this is a suppose IT person is talking about AI developments on LinkedIn. So you know this person's interest is in AI, and you can always go back and do some homework, showcase that how your interests align with that person's interests. Right? This is all about networking as well as some level of research that you can do. Then review your resume, whatever you have sent for the role and you've got the invite. Humble request, always go through that resume that you have sent. That is the basis for you to get shortlisted for the interview call. When you're getting an interview call and you're going for an interview, please review your resume. Okay? Then your own, do a SWOT analysis. What is a SWOT analysis? Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Meaning, what are the strengths you have for this role? Are there any weaknesses which you are aware of, which you should know? Not for sharing that information with the interviewer, but you should be aware of that. It's more of self-awareness. Are there any opportunities if I join this role? Suppose they have training opportunities, onshore, going to a different country opportunity, or some kind of a higher level skill set gaining opportunity. Versus there is a threat. Suppose if you join this company, they will send you to some remote area to work. What are the threats there? So you need to do that research as well when you are going for an interview, right? Do the SWOT. Then prepare common questions. What are the common questions? Very straightforward one. Generally, the people ask, tell me about yourself. Why do you want to join this company? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Same, the SWOT. Where do you see sometime? I mean, these days this is irrelevant. At where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Why should we hire you? How do you handle stress? How do you handle conflicts? And what is your salary expectation? Now, salary expectation, if this is being asked to you during an interview, always try to avoid directly answering that question, because later when you're supposed shortlisted for a role, your ability to negotiate depends on how you're responded to such questions during the interview. If you were within the interview, even if you're not shortlisted, but during the interview you have said, yeah, I'm okay with any salary you offer me, then you cannot go back when you're shortlisted and say, no, I at least want this much, right? So be very aware of such questions, right? Okay, so then mock interviews, this is something which is one of the most underrated ones. It prepares you so well, because in your mind you're already prepared when you're going to answer those questions. Mock interviews are a great tool, right? Dress up for the interviews. Always show your professional side. Let me tell you that you want to be natural, you want to be the way you are, but let me tell you, the companies, the hiring managers, they don't want to see you being easygoing or casual about interviews. They want to see the most professional side of yourself, because they evaluate, check you for that. I mean, I take a lot of interviews, and unfortunately, I mean, if I see the ratio, the higher ratio is on the unprofessional dressing side. Then prepare for the questions for the interviewer. Very important. You should ask questions as well, right? Culture and value questions, roles and responsibility questions, team management, metrics and expectations, next steps, right? These are the kind of questions you can ask. Why? Because this talks about your thought process, how analytical you are, right? How inquisitive you are. It also gives you a feeler of how much interested they are in you as a candidate. Okay, then the last one is review logistics and material. Very basic, but people tend to miss out on that. Location and timings of the interviews, if it is a physical interview, video interviews, the entire setup, right? So generally, when I suppose I'm taking the session as well, I ensure that all my things are working. I am in an area where there is no background noise, right? Then resume copies. Take resume copies if you're going for a physical visit to the office. If it is an in-person, multiple copies always help. So be prepared with that. And when you're sending resumes, the best is the PDF version. Avoid those other formats. Word is still okay, but it is editable. So send those PDF versions if you can. Awesome. So I know this is a lot to cover in a short span of time, but I try to kind of wrap this up so that you have all the information. Let me just recap, right? If you need to see the process, four stages of rejection. First is resume screening, ATS. We know how to clear ATS, use softwares which are free, and I've mentioned those. Job scan, skill syncer, and all. Then recruiter or hiring manager screening through your resume. Make sure the summary is great. They're capturing the keywords. Try to network with them. I've shared my resume. Have you gone through that? Let me know if we can connect. Can you share some details about the job? This way you can have some kind of a conversation, right? Assessments and interviews, preparation is the key. Be mindful of that. Resumes, avoid the common mistakes. People are making small ones, but very, very basic mistakes. Your resume should match the job description. If it is not matching, you will not get shortlisted. That means you would not qualify for the role. Same goes for the recruiter shortlisting as well. Recruiters are pressed on time. If they know you or you can reach out to them, that's the best way to get shortlisted. If you're not able to do that, make sure your summary is great. It has all the right keywords they need to hire you. Same for the interview process. Go through all the 10 steps. You need to ensure research is done correctly. You are preparing yourself for the questions, and nobody can stop you from getting that job. All right, cool. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining in.